Hi, this is Joe Chanthy and Ivy Shepard behind the camera. And today for our GenderCom presentation, we decided to interview Nicole. And Nicole, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Nicole Moravik. I use they, them, theirs pronouns. I am a student at WSU. I am a business major, women's studies minor, and one of the presidents for Full Spectrum. Is Winona State's Gender and Sexuality Alliance.
Well, thank you for your time
Yeah.
and thank you for coming today to this interview. So, we sent you some questions regarding your identity and gender performances, and we picked out some key terms. Some of those are the idea of the binary and non binary, the binary construct of gender performance, and also the pressure to conform to heteronormative ideologies of gender performance. And lastly, the idea that sex and gender are related but are not the same. So we're gonna just kind of get some of your input to facilitate more of those themes. So,
Okay.
can you please just describe to us the what binary is and what non-binary is?
So when I think of binary genders, I think of male and female, which are the two genders that most people are only aware of. And then non binary is kind of breaking that um, binary gender idea and being somewhere along the spectrum in the middle. So I identify as non binary. I was assigned female at birth, but that's not my gender identity. I feel somewhere in the middle of both female and male. So,
All right, and then so the next theme that we found was the binary construct of gender performance. So how does that affect you through your day-to-day activity with like a lot, a little, as far as in like, does it determine how much of a performance, of a non-binary performance you enact when meeting new people, I suppose?
uh, yeah, I mean, when I meet new people, I don't really disclose my identity right away. I kind of have to like warm up to this person, kind of create some trust, and then I'll open up to them about that just because you don't know what kind of reaction someone's gonna have. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm a business major, so it's not like I go around telling everyone in Samson about my identity.
Yeah.
But then when I'm in my like WEGS classes, I can be a lot more open and honest about it. So
So you think like the different contexts of those different environments determine the performance you put on as far as gender display?
yeah.
So, what kind of like just to go a little bit deeper into that, like the performance as far as in like more further closer to the feminine spectrum or to the masculine spectrum?
Um, well, I always present masculine just because that's how I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
But in like the business area aspect, I don't necessarily like tell people my pronouns.
Yeah.
And if they use the wrong pronouns, like it bugs me, but like not as much as it would bother me if someone in the WEGS department used the wrong pronouns.
That leads us to our next theme, which is like the pressure to conform to these heteronormative ideas of gender identity. So, like, how would you say that pressure affect you, your day-to-day life, in the context of like school, work, and I know you touched a little bit on your family too. So if you
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh boy. So I guess when I came out like a couple years ago, I felt a lot more pressure to conform to like being female, just because like that's how I had been for like 20 some years, you know. And I was just a lot more like nervous to kind of like just be myself. But now I feel like there's still that pressure there, but not as much just because I've gotten more comfortable in my own skin. And but yeah, I still feel the pressure like every day just because like people aren't aware of my identity unless I tell them.
Yeah.
So I guess a pressure would be to come off as more masculine to just kind of combat the people thinking I'm female type thing. I don't know. Some of this stuff is
Okay.
really hard to explain.
Yeah. So would you say like because of the heteronormative ideas of what femininity is and what masculinity is, and you identify yourself probably more closer to the masculine spectrum of gender performances?
Yeah.
And so that way you want to make sure that you kind of come off more masculine, so that
Right.
way you won't get confused as DMAB, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
Or DFAB. DFAB.
Yeah.
So, which is designated female at birth, and then DMAB is designated male at birth.
Yep.
So those are some terms that's important to understanding gender identities and gender performances in the LGBTQ community. I guess lastly, let's talk about like this idea that people very oftenly misconstrued sex and gender as the same thing. And in your opinion, what do you believe? What is gender? What is sex? When it comes to the context of gender performances and identity.
So, yeah, like you said, people often think that they are the same thing. They're completely different. When I think of sex and gender, I think of sex being like your biological makeup, and then your gender is how you feel like truly like inside. So like what your gender identity is. And for trans people, those two things are different. And for cisgender people, those two things are the same. So I think that's where a lot of people get confused on like what sex and gender like really are. 'Cause I don't think a lot of people like really educate themselves on the two different things. They just assume they're the same.
Yeah.
So
So, where would you recommend the people who aren't that knowledgeable about the difference between sex and gender go to seek out this information?
well, Google is a great thing
Yeah.
that a lot of people forget about sometimes when it comes to like serious stuff like that. Also, shameless plug, Full Spectrum. And then also like the Keep Center on campus is a great resource as well.
Yeah. What does that stand for?
Knowledge, empowerment, advocacy, and pluralism.
So it's pretty much the intersection of all different cultures, and
Yep.
It's like a really good place to go to be in the center of the intersectionality of all different cultures.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Lastly, do you have any final thoughts? Like anything that you would hope the viewers would take away from our little talk session?
Yeah. I guess like a big thing that I always try to get people to understand is never assume someone's identity. Always ask, even if that makes you uncomfortable. Step out of your comfort zone, get to know this person, get to know how they want to be addressed and how they identify. And then I guess lastly, if anyone ever has any questions, they can always reach out to me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And adding to that, like
Cool.
being respectful is
Yep.
very important, because not a lot of people are going to be comfortable with their own identity yet. So
Right.
approaching them as far as asking them their sexual orientation or gender identity is still a sensitive subject for those individuals. So I always approach it with some sensitivity behind that, and like
Not
trying
being
to
intrusive.
intrusive, exactly. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
your time,
No
Nicole.
problem.
And I'm Joe, and that's Ivy. We covered themes such as binary and non-binary, the binary construct of gender performance, and also the pressure to conform to heteronormative ideologies of gender performance, and also this idea that sex and gender are related but not the same. So thank you, and have a great day.